Well, back on Capitol Hill, there's now another delay in the unveiling of Senate climate legislation. The announcement came late yesterday afternoon, as we told you on the Energy Report. Two authors of the long-expected bill announced they will not introduce their version of a cap-and-trade plan until late September. Senate Democrats had planned to roll out the bill when Congress returns to work next week. Joining us now with the latest is Tyson Slocum. He's Director of Public Citizens Energy Program. Tyson, welcome back.
Yeah, great to be here.
It's good to see you again. So, what is the impact of this delay? Does it really put into jeopardy how much does it put into jeopardy the passage of legislation in the U.S. by the end of the year?
I'm not sure that it signals the death of climate change legislation. All I think is that it reflects how difficult these negotiations have been over this summer and are going to be this fall. The Environment and Public Works Committee has been meeting with a lot of different stakeholders. My organization has met with them. Folks from industry have. All the other environmental groups have. And they're also weighing competing jurisdiction with the Finance Committee, Agriculture.
So there's a lot to do.
Right,
I mean, the
absolutely.
big question was, can this get done by Denmark? And maybe it couldn't have anyway. Does this put it into further jeopardy?
I've never thought that we were going to get a climate bill delivered to the president prior to Copenhagen. And frankly, I don't think we need it. I think that Barack Obama has enough pull internationally. He's done enough rhetorically and through some of his unilateral efforts to show good faith on the climate change issue. The administration has been in almost daily negotiations with the Chinese and other key participants behind the scenes. And so I really don't think that a climate bill is necessary for progress in Copenhagen.
Okay, so no impact on December talks in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Is this a sign of anything other than the reasons that were given? You know, the importance of health care reform and the health issues from Senator Kerry and Senator Kennedy?
Well, I think there was also some unsaid things, and that is that it's proving to be very challenging for the committee to find a balance between environmental stakeholders and industry folks about what kind of details their legislation is going to have. It's been very, very taxing, and it's true that a lot of leadership's attention has been on health care, and that's been an equally contentious issue. I mean, these are very difficult issues that should take a little bit of time and a lot of effort by these committees, and so I'm not freaked out or anything, the fact that we've seen a couple of minor glitches and delays. This is tough business to put together effective climate change legislation. I do see continued insistence, though, by Democratic leadership and by the White House that climate change remains a priority, and I think that's important.
Well, the opponents are coming out, Senator Inhofe and others, talking about trying to really put a spotlight on Democrats, pitting Democrats against one another. How much wrangling do you think there is among the Democrats?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's definitely some factions within the Democratic Party, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We've seen Sherrod Brown and Byrd and other of those 10 senators representing manufacturing states that have said we need to see bigger protections for our states, and that's a legitimate cause. You've got the four other Democrats, Blanche Lincoln and others, who have said, you know, we've got consensus on energy bill issues, we don't on climate yet, let's move forward with energy and deal with climate later. We've got some of the ag concerns led by Harkin, who say that they need to see more support for ethanol and for offsets for farmers. And so there's divisions within the Democratic Party on this, just like you see on other issues. I don't see it as threatening to the climate change debate. We saw similar divisions in the House, and we saw that that was able to be overcome. I think it's going to be a little more difficult and a little more time-consuming than folks were previously thinking,
right.
but I think that folks are on the right path.
How about Kerry being on the Foreign Relations Committee and chairing that committee? Does his name on the climate bill do anything to its chances in the Senate?
It helps. I think it's important to have another name outside of Barbara Boxer. It gives the kind of joint action broader credibility with a greater number of senators. And focusing on the international piece is really key, because this is global climate change. And the United States can take all the domestic action it wants, and unless we've got robust international presence, we're not going to get a majority of senators voting for this bill. And so Kerry's presence on there, combined with the administration's very active engagement diplomatically on climate change, I think that's a good sign.
Let me get your reaction to that report that you just heard us report, this UN report calling for 4 times the annual aid to developing countries from developed $500 billion a year.
Right, that's a big number, and we haven't
The
seen.
biggest number we've seen so far was at Obama. It was 160.
Right, and we have not seen a willingness on the part of the United States to commit that kind of financial resources to the developing world. That was one of the sticking points and criticisms among poor developing countries with Waxman Markey, and it's going to continue to be an issue. I mean, when you've got the kind of tough economy that the United States is dealing with right now, it is going to be a tough sell for senators and representatives to vote to channel more financial resources to outside countries. So it's going to be difficult. I do think that we do need to have a stronger level of financial commitment. It's going to be tough to approach the kind of numbers, though, that the UN is calling for.
That's for sure. All right, Tyson Slocum with Public Citizen, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We appreciate it.